All of the foregoing crucial points are types typifying today's recovery of the church life, which is a recovery out of the church captivity in the Great Babylon. Revelation chapter 17 verse 1 to 6. Back to the unique ground of God's choice. The book of Ezra has two sections. The return of the captivity under the kingly leadership of Zerubbabel, and the return of the captivity under the priestly leadership of Ezra. Life Study of Ezra, Message 3. The return of the captivity under the kingly leadership of Zerubbabel. In this message, we will consider the first return of the captivity, the return under the kingly leadership of Zerubbabel. The decree of Cyrus, king of Persia. The return of the captivity under the leadership of Zerubbabel was according to the decree of Cyrus, king of Persia. In his first year, Cyrus made this decree in his first year, by God's stirring up of his spirit. Cyrus made this decree because God stirred up his spirit. This stirring up was a work of the hiding God. In fulfillment of the word of Jehovah by the mouth of Jeremiah. This decree was a fulfillment of the word of Jehovah by the mouth of Jeremiah, that Israel would return after the 70th year of their captivity in Babylon. D. Ordering the captivity of Israel to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild the house of God. In his decree, Cyrus ordered the captives of Israel to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild the house of God there. Because Cyrus was such a person, in the book of 14 Isaiah, he is considered a servant of God to fulfill God's purpose. This is in Isaiah chapter 45 verse 1 to 4 and verse 13. 2. The response of the heads of the fathers' houses of Judah and Benjamin, the priests and the Levites. In verses 5 and 6, we have a word concerning the response of the heads of the fathers' houses of Judah and Benjamin, the priests and the Levites. A. By God's stirring up of their spirit. Everyone whose spirit God had stirred up rose up to go up to build the house of Jehovah in Jerusalem. This surely was God's move, for he stirred up the spirit of Cyrus to make the decree, and then stirred up the spirits of all the leaders of the 3 tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. B. All the Israelites around them strengthening their hands. All the Israelites around them strengthened their hands with their offerings of their precious vessels. 3. The cooperation of King Cyrus. In verses 7 through 11, we see the cooperation of King Cyrus. He cooperated by returning the 5,400 vessels of gold and silver of the house of Jehovah, captured by Nebuchadnezzar from Jerusalem, and put in the house of his gods. He handed over the vessels by enumerating them to Sheshbazzar, Zerubbabel, the prince of Judah, to be brought back to Jerusalem for the house of God. 4. The number of the returned captives. In chapter 2, verse 1 to 67, we have a clear and accurate record of the number of the captives who returned under Zerubbabel, the prince of Judah, the governor of the former kingdom of Judah. Of the Judites, the Benjamites, the priests, the Levites, the temple servants, and the children of Solomon's servants. The total number was 42,360, besides their male and female servants and the male and female singers. In addition, 652 common people and 3 houses of priests who could not give evidence of their fathers' houses. 5. were included with those who returned under Zerubbabel. 5. The wheeling offering of some of the heads of the fathers' houses. Verses 68 and 69 speak of the wheeling offering of some of the heads of the fathers' houses after their arrival at the house of Jehovah in Jerusalem, for the house of Jehovah to restore it on its foundation. This means the heads of the fathers' houses willingly offer their precious things to God for the rebuilding of the temple. 6. The rebuilding of the altar of God. Ezra chapter 3 verse 1 to 6a is concerned with the rebuilding of the altar of God. A. In the 7th month. They rebuilt the altar in the 7th month of the year of their return. B. The children of Israel gathering to Jerusalem as one man. The children of Israel gathered from their cities to Jerusalem as one man. Not only the returned captives, but also the Jews who had not been captured came to Jerusalem to rebuild the altar. C. The altar being built upon its basis. Joshua the high priest and his brothers the priests, and Zerubbabel the governor and his brothers built the altar of the God of Israel upon its basis, as written in the law of Moses, the man of God. Then for God's satisfaction, they offered burnt offerings on it to Jehovah, as written in the law of Moses. Here we see that they did everything according to God's word. D. Keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. They kept the Feast of Tabernacles and offered the daily burnt offerings and the offerings of the new moons and of all the appointed feasts of Jehovah. This indicates that they recovered the worship of God, which had been lost for at least 70 years. 7. The rebuilding of the house of God. In verses 6b through 13, we have a record of the rebuilding of the house of God. A. Hiring stone hewers and carpenters. They hired stone hewers and carpenters, and they supplied the Sidonians and the Tyrians the daily necessities for them to bring cedar trees from Lebanon to Joppa. B. In the 2nd month of the 2nd year after their return. In the 2nd month of the 2nd year after their return, they began to rebuild the house of God with praise to Jehovah by the priests. Many of the priests and Levites and heads of the fathers' houses, the old men who had seen the first house, the original temple of God, wept with a loud voice when the foundation of this house was laid, and many shouted aloud for joy. The people could not discern the sound of the shout of joy from the sound of the weeping of the people. 8. The frustration. Chapter 4 gives us an account of the frustration to the rebuilding of the house of God. A. The adversaries of Judah and Benjamin pretending to help the rebuilding of the house of Jehovah. The adversaries of Judah and Benjamin, people brought from Babylon and Assyria by the king of Assyria to inhabit Samaria, who imitated Israel in seeking God and sacrificing to God, pretended to help the rebuilding of the house of Jehovah, but they were rejected by Zerubbabel, Joshua, and the rest of the heads of the fathers' houses. The enemies hired counselors to frustrate the rebuilding throughout all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, until the reign of Darius, king of Persia, and in the beginning of the reign of Ahasuerus. They wrote an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. This typifies that today, when we come back to the recovery to build the house of God, some nearby ones would make proposals that are mostly frustrations. This is Satan's subtlety. In his time, Zerubbabel saw through these proposals and rejected them.